And I'd like to welcome back with us today from Harvard Eye Associates, Dr. John Hovannisian. Always good to see you.
Great to see you as well, always.
And you often come on and tell us about new technology, new things. You're going to talk about something that along those lines today. But, you know, we've often talked about, too, how fortunate here in this area in Orange County that this is basically the Silicon Valley of eye technology, right?
It is so exciting to be in this area because you're exactly right. We are in the place where more than anywhere else in the world, we are developing, there are companies developing new technology. And so that's great for people who live in this area because we have a chance to experience those at an earlier stage. We get involved in a lot of studies, not of you know, sort of first in man, first in human implants, but we wait until you know, there's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, to the last phase 3 of FDA studies to get involved, and that's when we feel it's pretty reasonably safe and you know, comfortable for our patients to get treated.
Yeah, and I have to ask, why do you think Orange County became that? What started it? Was it a certain company? Like, what was the company? Allergan?
Allergan, yeah, Allergan. You know, so Gavin Herbert, who's still living and still involved in Allergan, really took a company that had an eye drop idea and cultivated into much, much more. They helped developing lens implants and surgical equipment, then spun off what became now Johnson & Johnson Vision, which is in Santa Ana. They're here. Alcon is the biggest company in eye care. They're based in Fort Worth, Texas, but they also have a presence here in Orange County. Bausch & Lomb is based in Rochester, New York, and New Jersey, but they have a presence here too. So all the eye care companies, and then of course around that develops a whole ecosystem of startup companies, because if you want good talent who's in the eye care space, you borrow them from bigger companies that are in that same specialty.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal place, and we really benefit, and our patients really benefit from it.
So today we're going to be talking about lens implants, and I think you've been coming on 10 years, maybe?
At least more than that. Let's not go there.
Okay, but the point I'm trying to make is, over the years, I have seen all the different types of lens implants and how they progress, and it's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal, and we get better and better results for our patients. And you know, the typical type of lens implant is done during the most commonly performed surgical procedure in the U.S., and that's cataract surgery. A cataract happens when we have birthdays, and the lens of the eye, we won't go there, and the lens of the eye becomes cloudy, and we fix it by replacing that lens with an artificial lens that lasts with us for the rest of our life. The typical traditional lens implant is like the picture here on the left that shows a small center part that focuses, and then two arms that come off of it. And there are various designs that vary from that, but that's the most common design. We're looking at and doing a study on a lens that's called the IC8, and it'll have a fancier name eventually, but that's the current name. And it has a pinhole built into the lens. So remember when you were a kid, did you ever build a pinhole camera system?
Of course,
for a science project? Well, why does a pinhole camera work without a lens? It's simply because if you take a small enough aperture and you focus light through it, you don't need a focusing element. You don't need a lens to make the world see you know, clear. And it turns out that if it's put into a lens implant, that's the part of the eye where all the light rays come to cross, so that if you have a small aperture like that, it doesn't cut down the light. It doesn't make it dark for people to see out of that lens. And it's remarkable because it takes away focal problems like astigmatism. It takes away, you know, if the person's a little nearsightedness or farsightedness after the implant. And the implant's powered to you know, fix that for the eye, but this fine-tunes it further. So it's incredible.
So basically, the ancient technology of a pinhole camera is working in conjunction with new technology of the lens that is around that little pinhole.
That's exactly right. And if you dilate the pupil, as in this picture that's on the screen, we can look in back of the eye and see around it, and you know, get a good view of the eye. But with the pupil in a normal position, smaller, The dark circle doesn't show. It looks like a normal eye to
Yeah.
people that are talking to someone who has this, but it provides better focus. And this will have a lot of great benefits for people with a variety of conditions, but even for our standard cataract patients, it's very promising if we see this lens FDA approved, and that seems increasingly likely to happen.
And as an eye care specialist, is this easier for you when you need to look at the back of the retina? And one of the reasons I bring that up is your colleague, Dr. Brian Kim, was on last week and talked about some things that can happen with your retina when you get the implants put in.
Right.
Not necessarily caused by the implant, but as he said, sometimes it's hard for us once that implant is to look through there and see the back of the eye. So this has to help you folks as well.
Yeah, it's not likely to make it any worse, and if there's any benefit to it, that's still yet to be seen. What we think mostly it will do is make it easier to get good focus for people who are going through cataract surgery. So it may not be for people who have a lot of disease in the retina, but it will be for, the vast majority of our cataract patients have fairly healthy retinas, and God willing, they will for life. And this will help them to focus better and live better.
That's incredible.
It's an exciting technology, and it's one of many. We're now enrolling patients for this type of lens through a study in our office. We're one of about a dozen centers across the United States that are doing it, and we've had really great results with it so far. And just to give a little background, in Europe and in South America, these lenses are already approved, and they're in very common use because of the success that they've had.
I remember years ago you telling me that same thing about other lenses. I think one of them was called crystal lens, and you told me the same thing. Well, it's already been in use in Europe for a few years. So
and crystal lens, which then new, is now one of the common lenses we use, and it's a terrific technology for thousands and thousands of our patients who've chosen to have it.
That's amazing. It's great to see these advances here, and the fact that it's happening here. It's to the point where if people want to. By the way, how do people get involved in that study? How does that work?
So this particular study is for people who have cataract and may need cataract surgery in the near future, who have otherwise, fairly healthy eyes. You can't have significant disease, and they would contact us, and at Harvard Eye Associates, we have a study department. We would evaluate them and see if they're a candidate for it. And if not, there are actually our other studies we're doing. The last time I was on your show, we talked about another implant that's a new design. It's actually based on the crystal lens design. And we have others that are FDA approved. Certainly, no one who comes to our office is part of a study without knowing it. People who are part of studies always do so voluntarily. We never push people to be part of research studies because some people aren't interested in that. But all of our patients appreciate that we are involved in the newest technology, because to do that well, we have to understand the existing technology well. And so we really put a lot of priority on being as advanced as we can, choosing the best in new technologies that come along so our patients do better.
That's amazing. Let me ask you, because of all the extreme weather we've had, particularly back east, of course here, we're 52 degrees or something, and we're like, have the Parker on. But we live here, but a lot of people might be visiting back east. They go skiing. When you get to these extreme temperatures outside, where you have a high of, well, some of them are in the minus, but you're in there, you shouldn't be out anyway, but let's say you do go out, you work, whatever it might be, what's the best way to protect your eyes? Should you be wearing basically ski goggles as you walk down the street on a very, very cold day, or something to that effect?
So the eyes generally are not the victim of cold injuries, although they can be the victim of injuries related to the cold. So snow blindness is a ultraviolet burn, because you've got white conditions reflecting the UV light toward the eye. The biggest thing we see around here in the cold weather is dryness of the eye. And you can feel it on the colder days. That your lips feel dry, everything feels dry, your eyes feel dry. And so addressing that proactively, warm compresses for when your eyes feel dry, lubricating eye drops for when your eyes feel dry, are sort of a good first defense. And of course, you want to have a good eye doctor who you can turn to for advice on other treatments.
Okay.
But those two things you can do on your own: warm compresses and lubricant eye drops from the pharmacy.
Okay. And then the reverse problem is you go inside, you have the heat on, and it can be very dry in your house.
Exactly. Yeah, part of the
Yeah.
drying we get
Yeah.
is because, when you're outside it's dry, and when you're inside the air is, conditioned, and that just zaps all the humidity out of it.
Yeah.
And you're in the car, the worst thing is you've got your defroster blowing.
Right,
and
right.
What's it doing? It's putting hot, dry air right into your eyes. And so direct those vents away, and think about how to keep the airflow out of your eyes if you're bothered by that kind of dry eye symptom in the car.
All right, and the lubricating eye drops are found over the counter, and
There's lots of different ones, and it's a good idea to try different ones. Sometimes the inexpensive ones work just as well for some people. The more expensive ones may be a little more advanced chemistry. They may be helpful. And if you're going to use them more than about 4 times a day, it's good to get preservative-free drops, because those,
okay.
after a while, a lot of doses, the preservatives start to bother people. So
Okay.
infrequent use is fine, but frequent, better to go without them.
All right, very good. Doctor, always good to see you.
Such a pleasure
Take
to see
care.
you too. Thank you.
You take care, and say hi to everyone over there for me.
Will do.
All right, Harvard Eye Associates, and if you want more information, they're very close by here. You're very lucky that they're pretty much a stone's throw away, and you can go online to harvardeyeassociates.com and get information there. Great group of folks that work over there. We'll be right back.